The Swiss drugs company Novartis has condemned a ruling by the Indian Supreme Court not to grant a patent for its updated cancer drug Glivec. The Indian authorities had decided that the new version of Glivec was only slightly different from the old, so it didn't qualify for patent protection. Campaigners had been worried that a new patent could threaten access to cheap generic versions of established drugs in poorer countries. As for Novartis, it says the ruling discourages future innovation.
The decision paves the way for Indian companies to manufacture generic drugs. Novartis threatened to stop supplies to new medicines to India if its patent request was rejected.
Now, Novartis was challenging the Indian government in a patent case to demand protection against Indian companies from copying its drugs. Under Indian law, drug companies cannot get patents on drugs that aren't radically different from other medicines. India is often dubbed the pharmacy of the developing world because it produces up to 90% of generic medicine on the global market and makes $12 billion a year doing so.
It's hugely significant because 8 million people living with HIV are on treatment from India. More than 80% of these 8 million people get the drugs from India. So in the area of HIV, this decision is path-breaking. Number two is this, by protecting generic competition and abusive practices of pharma companies like Novartis, I think the Supreme Court has safeguarded the rights of patients across the developing world.
The ruling is a blow for Western firms who are increasingly focusing on India to drive sales. An advocate for Indian drug makers said the Supreme Court's decision is clear.
One implication is clear that the Indian provision, Section 3D, has been completely upheld, number one. Number two, patents would be granted only for genuine inventions and repetitive patenting will not be allowed.
This case is a benchmark for several intellectual property disputes in India, where patent drugs are unaffordable for most of its 1.2 billion people, 40% of whom earn less than €1 a day.
We are disappointed with the decision of the Honorable Court. We understand the value of generics as part of access because Novartis is the second largest generic company in the world. But these are generics where the patent has expired. We will continue with our investments in India, even though cautiously. New products which we launched, we will ask for patent for these products, and we hope that the ecosystem for intellectual property in the country improves. Effectively, the price of Glivec in India was zero because 95% patients get it free. On the other hand, the price of generics of the copy which was made is 3 times the per capita income of an average Indian. So you can tell me what is affordable and what is not affordable between the two. I don't think any global company is planning to invest research in India. Investments in R&D centers since 2005, since we've had a patent law in place, every single one without exception has gone to China, and billions of dollars worth investment in R&D has actually moved to China. So this gravitation of investments needs to come to India, and we hope this ecosystem improves.
We've got to make sure that they have a fair play. You can allow a new company with a patented product to come in and rule the roost for maybe a few years. But when you have long patent periods, which is 10 years, 20 years, I think that's absurd. And if you need to impress upon them that you've got to be fair to your own people. But at the same time, I'm again reiterating what I said earlier, you've got to impress upon your industry the need to actually spend a lot of money on original research and development.